Hey, Nat. I want you to do something for me, all right? Go on Amazon.
All right.
And I want you to type in BBW, as in Big Bone Women.
Where is this going?
BBW wooden baseball bat.
Alright, okay. I'll click on the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, now what?
Scroll down. Did you notice it?
A solid red burgundy bandana and some barbed wire. And some customer reviews saying that they're making custom Lucille's.
God, I love the internet.
Well, this all just goes to show you just how much of an impact the character of Negan from The Walking Dead has had, despite
Yeah, exactly.
the fact...
Yeah, how much people absolutely love that fucking character.
Exactly, and I mean, even you love the character, and you were never a fan of The Walking Dead.
I thought it was boring as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got to the first season and everything else, I'm just like, yeah, fuck, I get the premise, whatever.
Well, I mean, what exactly was it about the Negan episodes that made you want to watch them?
He's just charismatic. He's the fucking comedian. He's Jeffrey Dean Morgan, for God's sakes. You were the one who was trying to get me to watch Walking Dead with you. Then when we got to the end of that one episode, like second from the last season, where the guy shot Daryl point blank and you're screaming, Daryl! Daryl!
Well, this is something to consider, is that The Walking Dead I've been watching it since the beginning, and it got to the point... Yeah, I mean, essentially, it got to the point where I was like, you know what, as soon as Daryl dies, I'm out. But the thing is that ever since Negan came on the scene, I've kind of wanted to keep watching despite, Daryl's survival, because he's such a great character, and he's exactly what the show needed at that point.
A memorable villain. I mean, granted, I am not a fan of The Walking Dead. I haven't followed hardly any of it. So you can talk about, like, the cannibals and the governor and all the rest of those guys, right over top of my head. Mm-hmm. Not saying they're not memorable characters, it's just that they never caught my attention. But fucking, when Negan came out of that camper swinging his baseball bat like it's his big fucking dick, goddamn. I mean, no homo, but goddamn.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, the thing is that...
You got a baseball bat too, huh? Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got my own little Lucille here and there, but... But the thing is that...
the Lucille with a rabbit attachment.
The thing is that with Negan, I really want to hate him because of what he's done to, not so much Abraham, because I couldn't give a fuck about him, but Glenn. Glenn was there since the beginning, and he was one of my favourite characters. He was actually my favourite character until, the next episode where they introduced Daryl, because, Daryl's everyone's favourite character. Everyone loves Daryl. But when he died... That was like a punch in the gut. And I really wanted to hate Negan, but I couldn't. He's just so likable despite everything.
Negan has his own set of values and rules according to the comic.
Mm-hmm.
If you rape a woman, he'll fucking knife you in the throat.
The thing is about Negan is that he's a very interesting character in that everything that he does, even though it's evil, in his mind... He's doing everyone a service, almost.
Well, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. I mean...
Well, he's kind of let it get to his head a bit, but I mean, his main intention is, he does want to help people. And the thing is with Negan, his whole idea is that the only way that civilization can be rebuilt is if the strong look after the weak. Which goes against, rape, which is why in the comic books he is so against rape, he cannot stand it.
Mm-hmm.
He has zero tolerance for that shit, even when it's his own people doing it.
Yeah, exactly. But, see, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I like Negan, not just as a villain, but, I mean, in a lot of ways he's almost an anti-hero. I mean, you can disagree with his methods, though, but he gets shit done, kind of like the Punisher in a lot of ways. In the comic book, he even looks like the fucking Punisher. The thing is, when Jeffrey Dean Morgan kind of walked into the scene, he's walking around and, he's being a badass and threatening to kill people, right? Mm-hmm. But when you dig deeper into the character and you see, like, what he does in, the rest of Season 7, you see that there's a method to his madness that I actually really appreciate. I mean, I don't like the guy as far as his methods, but you can appreciate it, because didn't Rick and the rest of his crew, like, kill 30 of his men?
Yeah. I mean, essentially, if you think about it, Negan was extremely lenient.
Exactly. I mean, he could have killed everybody in front of the camper. As far as Negan could tell, Rick's crew are just a bunch of marauders. It's really easy to point fingers and say this guy is bad, this guy is good, whether it's Rick or not. But there's a lot of complexity in what's going on, especially when you start reading into the comics. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could take Negan at face value, especially the first couple episodes. It's like, Jesus Christ, who the hell is this biker douche, right? Then you start seeing like the episode where Coral goes in and shoots 6 of the people in the compound, and then Negan's like, here, I'll show you around, kid. In the comics, it's especially powerful because it shows the completely human side of Negan, which I'm not sure Jeffrey Dean Morgan really captured, because when I was reading the comics, or at least viewing them, when Negan goes in and shows the wives, he's joking around with the kid, hey, check out all the tits and ass that I get, and I bet all the people in your little colony dress like pilgrims or some shit, and he's showing them this society he's kind of building, but then at the same time, one of his wives cheats with her old husband, and in the comic book, Negan's like, at least what I read into it, he's like, you could, I don't want you to cheat on me, but you could just, go back and work with the rest of your family. I mean, it's your option. You have the choice. Whereas in the TV show, there's a really, really sadistic slant.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like a threat rather than, saying
it is,
you have another option.
The way he conveys that threat is like, well, you could go back and, work with your husband and your mom, and I'll find something especially horrible to do to you. I mean, that was the intent. That was the body language that Jeffrey Dean Morgan gave Negan, which is absent from the comic, which makes the comic Negan seem a lot more benevolent in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think he does a very good job. He's very great at the sort of
he's
power.
charismatic as fuck.
Yeah,
I mean, have you seen him on these like female talk shows? I mean, the pussy's just dripping in the aisles when he walks in and starts swinging around a baseball bat full of, like, Christmas lights.
Well, those bitches are going to have to get in line. But anyway. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he is very charismatic. And what he is very good at is showing the side of Negan, that's all about power play. And everything he does is very deliberate and very careful, and is all
establishes himself as the alpha male. He like steps up, has unbreaking eye contact, gets right in your face, smiles a lot. I mean, this guy is a guy who is literally swinging around his baseball bat, and by baseball bat I mean this other type of wood.
His little Lucille.
I don't know. I haven't checked. So,
but the thing is, it's the other and more complex stuff, and I think this is the problem with the show in general, is that it kind of washes over some of the more complex stuff in the comics. And I understand, I mean, The Walking Dead has 2, sometimes even 3 times the amount of viewers that Game of Thrones does. So that's a huge audience. I actually think it's like the most watched show on television or something, most watched drama at least. Well, this is the problem, is that The Walking Dead, because it has such a big audience, it needs to appeal to the lowest common denominator, and that means it can't really get too complex, because it, people, I mean, bottom line, a lot of people just aren't smart enough for that. I think that's why Game of Thrones, it has a smaller audience, but the show itself is better. A lot of people don't watch it because it's very complex and it has a lot of layers, and people don't want
titties and dragons.
They want like fast food television, right? Which is why Game of Thrones doesn't have as big of an audience, but it's a better show.
Well, the thing is, I never got into the show either. Just because I saw the first season and I just couldn't be arsed, to be honest. From what I hear, and even from you say it's like such a downer, and we'll get to that in a bit though. But Negan was kind of everything I wanted to see in a villain. I wanted to see someone who was, the Machiavellian alpha male. I wanted to see somebody who was the dictator who, underneath his rough exterior, he has like a heart. I mean, you saw how he treated Carl, right? He's making fun of him about the eye, and then Carl starts crying, and it's even more potent in the comic book, and Negan kind of realizes, what he's doing, and he apologizes to the kid.
Because he is
which is shocking.
He is genuinely sorry for causing that upset, because deep down, he does want to get along with people. He wants to be liked. This stems from his origin, where he was a gym teacher at high school, and he did actually try to form genuine, not pedestal level, but actual genuine connections with the kids.
Pizza parties.
Exactly, right. He has this kind of affinity with kids. He, when you see it when he sees Judith and he's, playing with her, and he actually seems kind of sweet when he's playing with her until, that it takes a dark turn where he suggests that, oh, what if I take over this place and kill your daddy, that sort of thing. But he seems like he genuinely has an affinity with kids. He's even trying to get some of his wives pregnant.
I think that's it too, is the way he takes Carl underneath his wing. It's almost like he's trying to adopt him in a way, trying to be like a father figure, or he's trying to turn him against his dad. I still think that there's issues with the way that Jeffrey Dean Morgan portrays Negan, because again in the comic, where the wife cheats on him and he's like, you could leave, but now we gotta pay a penalty. Your husband has to pay because he cheated, and he puts the iron to the husband's face. And in the comic, at least, again, this is my own interpretation, the way I read it, he's like, I don't ever want to do this shit again. I'm sick and tired of, in a way that's like, I'm sick and tired of doing this. Mm-hmm. This had better be the last time I have to do something so fucking horrible. In Jeffrey Dean Morgan's portrayal, when he's saying that, he has this sadistic smirk and he winks at Carl.
As if he's enjoying it, yeah.
As if he's actually genuinely enjoying this shit. And I think that's kind of the wrong attitude. There's also a lot to Negan that makes too much fucking sense. Who is the asshole who was trying to usurp Rick?
Spencer.
Pool game? Spencer, yeah. I mean, he goes around this completely chicken shit way of trying to weasel in and take over Rick's place. Hey, Negan, if you kill Rick for me, I'll be your bitch, basically, right? And Negan has some warped sense of honor where he kills Spencer immediately. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, if you're going to betray him, what's going to guarantee that you won't betray me later? But not only that, though, but at the same time, Rick's own kid, Carl, shoots 6 of his guys trying to kill Negan, and not only does Negan, as he tells Rick right to his face, kill a guy who's trying to kill Rick, but also completely spares his own son despite this massive faux pas. I mean, you saw what happened when Daryl punched Negan and they bashed in Glenn's head, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he lets it completely slide. He's setting himself up as a benevolent dictator.
A lot of what he does makes sense. The fact that he was, a gym teacher and he worked with children. The fact that he tried to have kids with his wife, but she couldn't have any. And the fact that he cheated on his wife and he felt really, really bad about it. And, the tragic circumstances in which his wife died. And by the way, his wife's name is Lucille. Mm-hmm. Which gives a whole new sort of context to the baseball bat that he carries around, and he's so
psychosis.
Well, I mean the baseball bat, when Rosita pulls out the gun and shoots and tries to shoot Negan, and she ends up hitting Lucille instead. Not only is he pissed off that someone tried to shoot him, but he's also pissed off that, she's just damaged Lucille. In the comic book, he even alludes to, maybe having sexual fantasies over the bat.
Wow.
So I mean, he's very, he is unhinged, but you see where it comes from, you see where it stems from, and that's kind of the complexity of the character, is that he does fucked up things, but you know why he does it, and you understand it, and at some points you can even agree with him. He believes that the strong should protect the weak, and not use their power over them, which is, hypocritical, because if you think about, what Negan has done, but he kind of realizes that, in that point in the comics when Rick finally gets the upper hand on him. He sees that despite his best efforts, he's actually caused more pain and more problems than he wanted to. A lot of the people who are complaining about Negan are people who haven't read the comics and who think he's gonna die. And if Negan did end up dying, I would understand their point, because it's almost like, oh, fucking get it over with already. We know how this is going to end. Yeah, he's going to act all big and then Rick's going to get the upper hand. But the fact is, he doesn't die. He changes. And that is why Negan needs to be the way he is right now, to make that change have more of an impact.
He needs a character arc.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like, compare it to this, right? Game of Thrones, Theon Greyjoy. When you start off with him, he's going around fucking prostitutes, thinking he's, God's gift to mankind, going around
Cock
boasting.
of the walk.
Yeah, he's going around boasting about, I'm from the Iron Islands, we're a family of warriors, all this shit. And then when Ramsay, you see what Ramsay does to him through the, torture and mutilation. And
he goes from the cock of the walk to the cock on the chopping block.
But I mean, it gives so much more impact, because you see what he was before and you see what he was now, just how broken he is. And
well, same thing with Jaime Lannister.
Yeah, this is what's happening with Rick, and Rick being, you know, the Theon character and Negan being the Ramsay character, but also it switches. Negan, you know, sort of gets taken down a peg or two, and you see him start to change. The bigger and meaner and, you know, cockier he is right now, the more impact that change is going to have when it finally does come.
Right, when he actually becomes more of a hero-type character after being imprisoned for how many years, and then, you know, finding some redemption with Rick and his group.
The general formula of this show has been, for the past 6 seasons now, Rick and his group are out. They find a place to stay. They like the place to stay. They start to settle down. Oh no, the place gets overrun by zombies or overrun by other people, destroyed. I guess they're out again. Oh, they find a new place. They like this place. They're going to settle down. Rinse, repeat. The same thing over and over again. This is something different. Instead of, you know, constantly moving around, they're meeting other groups. There are different, you know, power dynamics, and there are different really strong characters getting involved. If anything, Negan could be a very valuable ally. I mean, there are scenes in the comic book where Rick actually goes to Negan for advice on stuff. And again, Negan genuinely does want to help people. He has a very strange way of showing it, but he generally does. And he gives Rick some solid advice. And he hopes the best for Rick, to be honest. He wants him to be a good leader. Rick goes out and he does basically what Negan told him to do, and everyone starts cheering for him. And then it kind of pans to the prison cell where Negan is, and he can hear the cheers outside, and he kind of smiles to himself and is like, "Attaboy, Rick." He's this wonderfully complex character, and that's one of the reasons why everyone loves him.
Yeah. Negan also becomes a character that doesn't like Carl, like, visit in the cell.
He sees him almost as more of a father figure than his own father.
Yeah, he like goes and says, you know, hey, yeah, me and my friends were over at a girl's house and she showed us her tits, and Negan, you know, gives him some almost like fatherly, like, yeah, you know, good for you.
You know what was great in The Walking Dead, like the best bit? When he went to the Rick's house and was taking all his food, and that lady was there, and she says, "You're taking too much. We're literally starving." And he kind of looks at her, and she's really fat, and he kind of looks at her, and she goes, "Starving, you."
Boy, I bet that got a lot of Tumblr hate.
Maybe that's why everyone at Forbes hates him.
No, Forbes doesn't lean that way. Salon maybe, Jezebel certainly.
Well, you know, Negan's not a paedophile, so.
Jesus Christ. I don't know, the way he hangs around with Carl. almost hangs around Carl more than he does his own fucking wives. Maybe he's batting for the wrong team. What I wanted to happen is that one scene that's hilarious in the comic where Negan's trying to rally troops against Rick, and he's like giving this long speech about, you know, let's go ahead and swing in our dicks and talking about balls and all this kind of shit. And everyone, all his underlings just kind of look at each other like, what the fuck is he talking about? And Negan face palms and says, "We're going to war."
Again,
that had better be in that fucking show, or I'll just quit again. You motherfucker!
When we swing on your brother.
Hey, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe, click the bell, and do whatever else YouTube is now making you do to watch the stuff you actually give a shit about, and not the Jimmy Fallon reruns and cat videos that they're cramming up your ass in an effort to become the next Netflix. And become a Patreon supporter and join the other fun-loving members of our growing fan base in Wildcard live convos. All other wildcards will be posted in the channel in full, so now there's no excuse not to join the fucking party. Wait, we can still say fuck, can't we?